Hello everyone, this is Jackie Ding here. Nice little battle lineup we got. I'll take you on a little comparison video between the Honda S2000 and the Subaru BRZ. Now I wanted to make a video like this quite a while ago. It was supposed to be the AE86 versus the S2000, but then things happened. No! But this will be a pretty interesting showdown. First of all, thanks to our cameraman Justin Shetty and Fiona for lending us her car. So let's get to it. Alright, we're now in the Subaru BRZ. I've got the keys here. Let me give you a rundown of the mods that are done to this car. There is a Tomei titanium exhaust, catback, which makes that Subaru rumble sound so much louder and just it's a joy to hear, really. Up front there's a strut bar, and that's it. I want to focus on this car. How does it drive? Well, I quite like it. It's got a very smooth style to it. It's just roll it into a corner and it just carries on very calmly. It's very predictable handling. That's something I really like about it. It's like a partner. You really work alongside it, and together you gain knowledge and go faster. Now into a corner, this car does have a little better turn-in response, and that's going to be down to two facts. Probably one, the fact it does weigh 80 pounds less than my S2000, and two, the boxer engine layout. We all know that means it has just a lower center of gravity, and that really does help. And you can feel how agile this thing is. You're just weaving about on the road, you can feel that kind of suspension balance, which I really like about it. The steering rack is also an electric steering, but it does have a little more feel, maybe, to that on my S2000. Now the gear shift in this car is kind of interesting because it does a little pop. It kind of just pops out of one gear and pops into the next one. It's a little more on the unnerving side. Sometimes you're just second guessing yourself whether it is the right gear. But it is a very good shifter, a very smooth gearbox, and I quite like it. The clutch pedal also feels very different. You do have to give it an initial force, and after that it kind of falls to the floor really quickly. Which does mean sometimes it is a little less predictable. You can't really control it that well. You don't quite know how much force to apply for a certain amount of travel. And it handles really well, as I shall demonstrate here. It has that inherent balance to it, and it just feels really trustworthy. And yes, people make fun of these Prius tires, but on the street, well, they give enough response, and you can just slice the cars through these bendy roads, and it just feels absolutely fantastic. I love it. This car has an excellent brake pedal. I mean, the initial hit is, the brake pedal itself is very sensitive and very responsive, which I really like. And it's really hard. It's just meaty. You can just grab onto it and you can just press it. And however, sometimes maybe you may be slightly disappointed. Take this corner for instance. Entering a third gear, and it doesn't pull quite as fast as you expect it to be. Now certainly I wasn't putting it right into the power band, but it also doesn't feel that fast. It doesn't feel like it's wanting to get going, like, let's go. It doesn't quite. All right, let's see. Foot down, second gear. It's a very linear power band, but it just doesn't feel particularly fast. See, I've always been somebody who never ever criticized the GT86, BRZ, FRS for being underpowered. I've always said that's not what the car is about. This car has the spirit of the 86, which is you attack the corners. And having owned the S2000, it just feels that little bit lacking in power. It just feels it doesn't quite want to get going quite as fast. It really is a shame, because I think this car is so much fun to drive in the corners. Now, to make up for that lack of power, relatively, the BRZ does have a slightly shorter first to fourth gear than the S2000. Fifth and sixth is a little longer, and the final drive ratios are the same, both at 4.1. But honestly, it's not a huge difference that you can feel. You really can't feel it. If anything, the S2000 just feels it pulls it harder in gear. It just does. Now, to be fair, this is the 2016 model we're talking about. For the 2017, they did have a shorter final drive, a 4.3 compared to a 4.1, which would give you that better punch out of the corners. But as is, it just doesn't quite have the get-go out of the corner, which means you do have to carry quite a bit of corner speed, which, if you ask me, I'd be happy to do that. Alright, now you're joining me with a Honda S2000. Yes, this is my car. So obviously I won't be completely unbiased, but I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. This car on the street is defined by one noise. Ready? VTEC! It's all induction noise. It's all that kind of noise. And it's just, it sounds so exciting. It sounds so exciting. I love it. Now, talking about balance, this is still a very well handling car. But sometimes, coming right after the BRZ, you do feel like it is a little bit shorter than that. Not having the roof does reduce the structural rigidity. And to address it, Honda engineers have had to put many strengthening all under the chassis of the car. And the fact is, this car, despite having a shorter wheelbase, is 80 pounds heavier than the BRZ. And that car still has rear seats. I don't. Now, this being the AP2 S2K, it is a little bit softened for the street. And you can feel that compared to something like the BRZ. Whereas that thing is very stiff, very precise to the corners, this thing is a little softer, has a little more body roll. And that may not necessarily be a bad thing on the street. Sometimes attacking a corner, you do feel like sometimes you're hoping for a little more precision. It's precise, just not as precise as you want it to be or as the BRZ is. Driving it on the street, the simple fact is the BRZ cannot live with the S2000 as soon as you get to the corner exit. Corner entry, yeah, that thing can probably keep up, but corner exit, this leaves it for dead. Absolutely dead. The engine is the complete centerpiece of this car. Everybody says it, and it dominates the whole experience. It really does. Is that a bad thing? No. It just means it makes the whole entire car that little more special. It is not as extremely high revving as the F20, which revved to 9,000. This goes to 8,000 as red line and 83 at fuel cut. But it does still have the same characteristic of, I will rev until the world ends. At 7,800 RPMs, this car makes a stunning 240 horsepower from a 2.2, which is honestly highly respectable. Specific output wise, yes, the AP1 is higher, but this have a load more bottom end torque. On corner exits, this thing is a joy. It's just so much fun. You just enter a corner, wait for it, get to the apex and watch it go. It is just an awesome amount of fun. On the streets then, both of these cars are excellent fun. But to find the real differences, we have to take them to a racetrack. Welcome to M1 Concourse. I will start the day learning the track in my S2000, and here, the razor sharp nature of the S2000 started to show. At 95 to 100%, this car is an absolute joy. The steering feels great, the balance feels right, even the body roll that was disruptive of experience on the street made the car settle a little nicer mid-corner. What this car has is the ability to turn the car with the throttle. With virtually no understeer in the middle of the corner, you can plant your right foot and just watch the back of the car engage in a beautiful little slide. The brakes, which are aftermarket Project Mu B-Spec and 335 fluids, showed very little fade throughout the day despite my constant abuse. If the S2000 on the street seemed a little soft compared to the BRZ, that gap completely disappeared and the S2000 turns into an absolute monster in the corners. Downsides? Well, the inherent sharpness doesn't mean driving it fast require your full focus, and I do mean full, while a tiny mistake can often mean a very expensive incident. If you want to buy this car to learn how to drive a rear-wheel drive, look elsewhere. And that brings us neatly onto the BRZ. In contrast to the relatively tricky S2000, this is a car that is almost excessively revealing. No, I don't mean that it likes to hang its rear out, well, kinda, but that its grip limits are so easy to find and the handling makes it so accessible even when the grip runs out. Just one lap into my run with the BRZ, I managed to leave a pair of curvy tire marks on the track and an equally curvy smile on my face. If you want to know what rear-wheel drive is all about, have a go in one of these. Even with all the computers turned off, the BRZ still felt like a well-trained puppy, ever so playful but never feeling dangerous or out of line. But it's not perfect. Its stock Michelin tires provide enough response on turning, but ultimately lacks grip in higher speed corners, and you just can't adjust its mid-corner attitude with a throttle as you could in the S2000. In other words, in longer corners, trying to push the BRZ to and beyond its limits will just result in long and arduous understeer. This is then coupled by the lack of punch out of the corners, which often means you just can't be as fast out of corners as other cars. On the track, how does the two seemingly similar cars compare? There's no denying that the BRZ is the slower of the pair, but the more intriguing question is, how much slower exactly? Well, let's find out.
This is a great car. The question is, which car would I take home? Honestly, I'm not gonna take the BRZ. Of course I'm gonna pick the S2000. What did you expect? I personally think this is one of the greatest cars made. Ever? Greatest sports cars. I'll give you that. Greatest sports cars ever made. It's just that little more exciting. I drive that car and I come back. Oh yeah, this is a good car. I drive this car and I like this. I like this. Justin, our cameraman, drove this car last night. He said the same exact thing. You have to concentrate so hard, but it's so much fun. The owner of the BRZ, Fiona, drove this car and she's like, I don't want to drive my BRZ anymore. This car is so much fun.
I haven't driven the 2. Have I regretted buying the S2000? Nope. No, I have not. BRZs are great cars. They are really, really good cars. And if you buy one, oh, I implore you, good job, keep it up. Modify it, change it, make it yours, make it even better. But if you bought an S2000, I'm sure you'll know the smile that I'm having right now. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go drive some more.